All right, fifth graders, we have reached the end of chapter 8. It says chapter test up here, but I'm just using this for a review so that you will be prepared for your actual test. It says we're going to use the diagram to answer questions 1 through 6. Number 1 says to name the points in the diagram. All you put are the capital letters that name points. If you want to put commas in between them, that would be great. That's what that should look like. Number 2 says to name the line segments. That's a little more complicated. Can you figure out how many of them there are? You should find 4 line segments. Here is one of them. Go in an orderly fashion so that you don't miss any of them. We'll call that line segment QR. Then we've got RS, line segment RS. ST, line segment ST. And TQ would be line segment TQ. Does it matter if you use capital letters? Yes. Does it matter if you use exactly 2 capital letters? Yes. And does it matter if you put the line segment symbol above the letters? Yes, it does. Make sure that you do that all correctly. That was for number 2. Number 3 says to name the parallel lines. I'm hoping you all can just look at that figure and find them. Those 2 lines are parallel to each other. So we're going to name them. Line symbol, QR, names this line right here. And line symbol, TS, names this line here. And remember the symbol for is perpendicular to. So this statement right here says line QR is parallel to line TS. Number 4 says to name the intersecting lines. Well, that's going to be kind of a pain because there are quite a lot of them. So I'm going to start with line TS intersects, I better make that a line, not a line segment, intersects line TQ. Line TQ. That's my little and symbol in there. This is going to be a big answer. Okay, so we took care of line TS with one line that intersects it. Line TS also intersects that line. So line TS and line RS. Okay, so we took care of everything with line TS. We already did this one down here. Now let's do this one right here. So line TQ also intersects line QR. Okay, so we took care of QR with one line. Now we got to take care of QR with this other line. Line QR and line RS. Did we get them all yet? TS and TQ, TS and RS, TQ, and this one. Okay, I think we got them all. 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs of intersecting lines. Okay, then we don't want to miss number 5 over here. It says to name the perpendicular lines. perpendicular lines come together at 90-degree angles in square corners, and they've given us some clues here. There are going to be two sets of perpendicular lines. Line RS is perpendicular to line QR, and line RS is also perpendicular to line ST. So you need both of those. Question number 6 tells us to find the measure of angle QTS. QTS. That means this angle right here. Seeing as how you're working from home, and I'm not too sure you have the ability to print or use a protractor, we're going to estimate that. So if you have a question on your test about that, you may estimate. Now you should know, it needs to be a good estimate though. You should know that a 90-degree angle would be about that much. So we're well beyond 90 degrees. Maybe we're about 125, 130, something like that. And then it also says to tell whether it's acute, obtuse, or right. Since it is greater than 90, we're going to say that it is obtuse. Okay, here we simply have to name the polygon. I think you know the answers. Triangle. Number 8, count the sides. There are 5. That's a pentagon. And number 9, again, if you count the sides, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides, also a pentagon. Oh, I guess we got new directions there. Number 9 says to tell how many lines of symmetry. Is there any place where you could take number 9 and fold it in half and the two halves would be the same? I think the answer to that is no. So there are 0 lines of symmetry. What about number 10? Any place where you could fold it and the two sides would be equal? I think we've got one there. We've got one there. Do you think that there are any others? Do you think you could fold here? The answer is no, it would not come out there. There's only one across the middle this way and one across the middle this way. Makes 2 lines of symmetry. Okay, for number 14, we have to tell, for number 11, we have to tell whether the figures are congruent or similar. So they're definitely at least one of those things. Can you tell that these angles are both right angles? With angles, then, they would simply be congruent. Obviously, number 12, they're not congruent because they're not the same size, so they must be similar. Number 13, they're getting a little tricky here. They look like they're the same, and they are, so they are congruent. But with shapes like that aren't just angles with shapes, if they are congruent, they are also considered similar. That's a little confusing, I think. Okay, then number 14 says to tell whether it's a slide, a flip, or a turn. So we took this original figure and we slid it over there. This one right here is facing a different direction now, and you can tell that it was like turned about that point. That is a turn. Number 16 is a flip. It's a mirror image across that line. And number 17, you might think it was flipped across that line, but it wasn't because it's still facing the same direction. It was only slid. So this is a slide, and this is a reflection. I'm sorry, a flip. Next year you'll call it a reflection. Okay, and then we're supposed to find faces, edges, and vertices again. This one is a rectangular prism. The faces are the flat surfaces. You've got a bottom and a top. That's 2. You got a front and a back. That's 2. And you got a right side and a left side. That's 2 more. Makes 6 faces. Edges are lines. It's where 2 faces come together. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 across the front, 1, 2, 3, 4 across the back, and 4 joining the front and the back. Makes 12 edges. The vertices are the points where 3 or more edges come together. They often make a sharp corner. And we've got 4 on the top and 4 on the bottom. Makes 8 vertices. Number 19. Faces. We've got a triangular base, and a triangular base makes 2. And then there are 3 rectangles connecting those. Makes 5 faces. The edges are the lines where 2 faces come together. 3 on the bottom, 3 on the top, 3 joining them makes 9. The vertices are where 3 or more faces come together. They make the sharp points. 3 along the bottom and 3 on the top makes 6.